Hey everyone, you're watching Conversations in Pop Culture, and I am your host, Andrew Davis. And this episode is brought to you by my sponsors, Mixum Printing, the smarter way to print your projects. And I know printing your projects can be confusing and stressful, but Mixum is here to make it easy. From their instant code calculator, let you get as many quotes as you want for free, to their 24-hour customer service support. Mixum is here to make sure your printing experience runs smoothly from start to finish. And right now, you can choose from a range of premium printing options and materials. And the company has also printed so many successful Kickstarter campaigns. A bunch of them you've even heard about on this very show. 47 Furious Tales is printed by Mixum. So that's a Sam Quinton's project, which is live on Kickstarter right now. So go back at everybody. And he's not paying me to say that, but you should seriously go check it out. It's a great project. And they offer services in the United States, Canada, Australia, and the UK. And Mixum can print and reach your audience anywhere in the world. So if you're ready to print smarter, not harder, head over to Mixum.com. And right now, listeners of my show can drop my name, Andrew Davis, in the message tab of a current order to get a 5% discount on their first order. So that is Mixam.com. Again, type my name, Andrew Davis, in the message tab of a current order to receive a 5% discount on your first order. Also, I don't know about anybody else, but I like my comics to arrive in pristine condition. And I have an affiliate link for everybody to use from BCW Supplies. Use Pop Anime Comics to get 10% off your order at BCW Supplies. I also have a t-shirt up on Redbubble. And this is my Redbubble t-shirt right here, everybody. So you can go check that out. Links in the bio as well. I am a huge Gundam fan. So go buy my t-shirt. I need the money badly. And so without further ado, I have with me first-time comic creator, Gage. Welcome to the show, man.
I cannot believe you made it through that. I would have flubbed that up so hard.
I've been doing this forever, though.
Man. I did my Kickstarter update, number 3, and it looked good. But, I mean, even at the end, I flubbed it up. I'm not even going to tell you how long it took me to shoot that thing.
I have been doing this stuff for 10 years, and then I spent another 10 years before that really in YouTube land. So I almost have probably close to about 20 years of doing stuff, and so I get it completely, but you got a lot of stuff going on. And as I stated, you're in the middle of your first Kickstarter with Godslayers. And So let's kind of catch everybody up in my audience of what Godslayers is, because I know what it is, and I better know what it is because I've been on a bunch of shows where you've been on it, but for those who haven't heard about it, what is the basic story?
So the basic story is that a group of heroes is going to resurrect a fallen enemy to help him, or to have him help them to defeat a demon who's conquering their world currently. And there's a lot of story. I have trouble stopping, so that's the basis. The beginning of the story.
I promise. But obviously, there's a lot of stuff going on with it, and we're going to really get into it. But where did this idea come from? Because obviously, this is your first book, but you have somewhat of a storytelling background.
So I've been game mastering role-playing games since 1994. And so I've been telling stories to people in person for years and years and years. I think my longest game ran 10 years and had upward of 60 characters by the time we were finished that had come through it as player characters throughout a world storyline. But Godslayers, I started writing as an anime. I got let go from a job in Dayton, Nevada, where they went bankrupt. And I took a month and I wrote 2 scripts. I wrote a script about teddy bear that fights monsters under the bed to protect a little girl named Horatio Into the Under. And I wrote Godslayers as an anime script.
So let's even talk about that, because obviously anime is big. I'm a big anime fan. We were talking off air about My Hero Academia and some other stuff. But what is that like to write it like an anime and then to sort of say, hey, let me rework it into a comic book? Because they're similar. And I think it's safe to say that comics, anime, I'm a huge wrestling fan. Even that's a cousin of all this, and it's all in the pop culture sphere. But what is that like for you to sort of then say, oh, this might work better as a comic, or it might be cheaper as a comic?
Well, to be fair, the reason I chose to do it as a comic was just because I met a great artist and I could do it myself. Trying to get something out as an anime and convincing other people they want to create your stuff is a nightmare. But I met a great artist, Mario A. Barraza, who drew my book, and we built a hell of a rapport. And I realized I could do it myself instead of waiting around for someone else to recognize something I thought was great. So,
yeah, because it's very interesting because obviously I am a huge anime fan, and I understand that also producing a comic is just cheaper than producing television or producing an animated series. There's a reason why Avatar: The Last Airbender has continued in comics because that comic book is 25 to 30,000 all said and done between writing and art. And an episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender is way more than $30,000. Easy. Legend of Korra is way more than 30K. And so it's just also, I would imagine that factored into it as well. And just time as well, because it doesn't take years to produce, an anime. It doesn't take years to produce a comic. It could take years to produce an anime.
I didn't even think about that. To be honest, it was more a matter of I put it out there in the world and I didn't get any responses at all. And
you basically just said, I'll do it myself, and I don't really know what I'm doing.
And I have no idea what I'm doing. Like I said, I jumped in head first, and like I said, I have great support. I have some great mentors who have taken me under their wing, but I dove in head first without even looking at how shallow it was.
What is that like? Because obviously everybody jumps into whatever they're doing at some point without any knowledge or even the experience. But what has this been like for you? Because obviously you've come into comics and you sort of dove in first. And what has that been like? Because everybody has a different experience. And I know people who've had a really rough time coming in, and I know people who've had it easier. And then also I understand it from both the, I guess, corporate DC Marvel Image realm, and you're part of a corporation coming into it versus coming in on an indie level. And so what has that experience been like for you? Because you're not, Niobe Comics, you're not me, you're not Max DeVille. And, you're not Sam Quinn. I could say those names because they're not going to get angry, who have years of experience doing this stuff. But what is this all like for you? Just on even a personal level, professional level, and being just new to terms. I mean, I didn't know what bleeding was, and I don't think you did either.
I did not. I did not know that you needed bleed and cut lines for pages, but we've made those adjustments to our pages now. My artist knew that, and he was all prepared to do it, so that wasn't a big deal, but I had no idea. It's been a huge learning experience. I mean, at first it was just super fun. I'm sending my artist my storyboards, and he's drawing what I'm imagining. And Mario and I don't know what it is. He's just right on the level with me when it comes to what I've imagined and what my ridiculous doodles look like and what he produces. You've seen those, right? And then, so producing it was a lot of fun. And then I got ready to set up my Kickstarter, and I realized that I'm not tech savvy at all. And so that was a lot of really flabbergasted learning process. And then the promotion's been really tough for me. I'm kind of a private guy. If there's a group of people, I'm the guy that's standing in the back with a big grin on my face, nodding, yeah. But I'm not out there talking to people. And so getting out there and promoting, it's been a whole nother world for me, like outside my comfort zone.
Yeah, perfect. I love to promote, and I'm the worst at getting on comic shows, in which but there's reasons for that as well, where a lot of times people in the comic realm don't want to talk about the business side of things, and I haven't produced a comic book, and so it doesn't work. But I'm on a bunch of financial shows. I'm at least on one a week, which is always cool. And I do like talking about money, and I'm very much addicted to money. So, hey, there could be worse addictions. There could be worse addictions.
I suppose that's true. So for me, when it started, like I had in my mind, oh, this is going to be great. I'm going to produce a comic. I'm going to go on Kickstarter. I'm going to sell people a comic, and it's going to be done. and it has been nothing like that. I love working with Mario, and producing a comic was great. Starting a Kickstarter, I found out that I didn't have enough knowledge to know what I'm doing.
You're learning that there's a difference between producing a comic, telling a story, and getting the art. And then there's the technical side, which really isn't that complicated. What I mean by technical is bleeding a page, making sure you have the proper page, making sure you have the proper page weight, making sure it's the correct file and how all that works. And then the other side of it is all the promotion, all the letting people know you exist,
selling it.
Yep. And that's a whole different ball game. And it's very, very complicated. I don't think people actually talk about this and really dive into that whole concept of what this stuff looks like. And actually, how do you get somebody to buy something from you? And also, how far does your name go? How far does your reputation go? What distribution channels do you have? Who's actually useful in your network? And who's actually going to help you sell a book? And that stuff's all complicated. And I feel like nobody in comics talks about this. And I think it's a real problem. And, people, I don't think, appreciate interviews. I think people don't appreciate a lot of things that go into it. I mean, I promoted like crazy during my campaign, and I barely made it. I did 114% of my goal, which I'm happy about, but it was a tough to the end, and it was a squeezer. And so I don't think people really talk about this and fully come into it, because I didn't know what to expect either when I did my campaign. And now moving forward, I know exactly what to expect the next time if I come back ever. And so this is why I'm so curious, because my experience could be similar to yours, being a first-time Kickstarter creator.
Well, I mean, so we've hit a little over 1,800 so far. I have 45 backers, and I really appreciate the people who've come out to support it. But I went into this. I paid for everything up front, like all my art. I paid for everything up front. My covers are all paid for. My art's all paid for. All my Kickstarter's covering is hopefully producing episode 2, because we're already getting ready to start working on that. Fulfillment and shipping, and then if we meet stretch goals, buying t-shirts, because that'd be awesome. But I had no idea the business side. I really thought it was going to be a 3-step process, and luckily I had some people to be like, hey man, like, people aren't just going to be able to find it. What is it? Like, there's no like treasure map that leads to your Kickstarter. Like, you got to go tell them it's there. And no matter how uncomfortable it makes I want to be successful. So I'm out there doing it.
It's very complicated. Media.
Complicated.
And people, and you know this, and I got no problem stating it. I got attacked for media, and I'm just saying, media and finding good media, it is not as simple as people think it is. And people say, oh, there's a million shows out there. Yeah, there's a million shows out there, but can you get on that? And that's the whole question. It's like, now I'm starting to, as April's coming up, I'm getting a lot of requests, and I'm actually vetting every single request now. And I don't know who's going to be on my show, and people obviously find value in this stuff.
Well, and I also have the failing that I'm not very tech savvy. Like, I missed a chance at an open mic yesterday just because I couldn't figure out how to request to be on it. So I'm still learning a lot of the stuff that goes into even doing interviews and promoting and stuff like that. I'm 42 years old. Like, my access to computer was AOL, and then I had kids. I didn't get into computers and stuff like that. And so I only just got to where, like, my phone, I do a lot of my writing on my phone because I always have it with me, and it's a lot easier than carrying around. I used to carry like little notebooks around with me so that if I had a couple minutes, I could write stories in it. And now I just whip out my phone in the notes section or Google Docs and start writing, and I'm a prolific writer, like anywhere between 4 and 21 pages a week, easy. Every little chance I get, I'm writing something. So, and I know in 4 and 21 is a lot, but it depends on how busy I am, that's a big stretch, but Generally, I write between 10 and 15 pages a week on average of just anything from role-playing storyline to work for my books, you know?
Yeah, I'm not that prolific. I'm a very lazy writer, but that's not the point. I'm also right now very much in my business,
Well,
and
my house is filled with composition books. Like, that's another reason the phone came in. My wife was like, "You're not allowed any more of those. There's a stack of composition books over there. There's a stack of composition books over there. There's a stack of composition books over there." She's like, "No more composition books. Like, put it someplace else. Let me show you Google Docs."
I mean, I love technology, and I am super lazy, and I love my Mac, and I love my Xbox, and I'm very good at technology because it's my best friend, and it's also my sworn enemy. But that's not the point here. But I do want to dive actually into the story for those who are watching and checking this out and seeing it. There's a lot of stuff going on, and there's a big backstory that sort of is, I think, predicated on your book. And you sort of tease it a little bit where basically for a while this world had this guy in it, and then he was sort of, I guess, wanted to kill a bunch of gods, for lack of a better word, and then he was imprisoned for a while, and then he was somewhat freed in this creature called the demon or Godslayer.
So
Then,
what happens
yeah,
is,
explain it.
okay, so there was a being called the Godslayer, and the Godslayer was a kitsune who was just massive size and carried the Godslayer sword. And he went around slaughtering 8 of the 9 gods in this world. And in a final battle with him, they managed to kill the kitsune, only to find out that this whole time he's been possessed by a demon, the Yama King of Betrayal, Mastema. And instead of ending this war in the moment when they strike down the Godslayer, they release this demon that's been possessing him, who just continues the rampage.
So let's even talk about that, because that is fascinating. The fact
that's pre-story and not actually in my book, though.
but it sets the tone of it in a lot
It
of
does.
ways, and this is something that's very interesting. Where a lot of times, and you read a lot of comics, I read a lot of comics, you've seen a lot of anime and video games, and sometimes the backstory is just like 3 paragraphs, but it sets the entire tone for that story. And this is sort of the backdrop where clearly this demon now is free and has been progressively gaining in power and making things worse. And obviously, this demon is still around, and now that's kind of what sets things up. So, what was this like, really creating this backdrop? Because it does raise the stakes, it sets the tone, and it also says, hey, this enemy's been around for a while, and this enemy is intelligent and has gained power, intelligence, and has evolved with the world. Because now it actually makes it that there's a real challenge for these heroes that are trying to oppose this demon.
Well, one of the main challenges that they're finding is actually wielding the weapon they think can slay him. So as a Yama King, he's equivalent with the gods that were destroyed in the first place. And the only reason they could destroy that he could destroy the gods was this sword. And so they need a way to wield it, but they believe that only the Godslayer could do that, and he's been dead for years. And so before they can even get started fighting this guy, they need to bring him back.
Yeah, because and this is what makes it so interesting, is that obviously they realize they have a problem, and then they know what the problem is, and then they have to find the solution to eliminate said problem. But the guy's been dead, and they're trying to resurrect him. And I'm presuming that the Godslayer, essentially, and this guy who was wielding it is somewhat resurrectability, for lack of a better word, is in enemy territory as well. And so now they're going into enemy territory, and they have to deal with pretty much this demon and all of his minions and all the threats that possess there. And I don't know if you get it. I don't think you get into it in the first book, but I'm presuming there's real threats before they even face this demon lord type.
Oh, there will be a lot of threats before they face the demon lord. There are some revelations that come up right after the Godslayers resurrected. I mean, there's revelations in the first book, like they're going to the tomb of the Godslayer, and not everyone who's in the party knows why they're going. Dust is kind of a secretive guy because he doesn't know how his plans are going to get around, who's watching, that kind of stuff. And they're dealing with the Yama King of Betrayal. You know, Mastema, his place in the Thousand Hells was as the Yama King of Betrayal. So the idea that his plan is out there and that a demon whose sole basis is betrayal is floating around out there, he's not always forthcoming with exactly what he's doing.
And so let's even talk about Dust. And hopefully I have this up, and I might have these slightly out of order. You know, that's not Dust. Oh, that's not Dust either. Oh, this is Dust. Okay, we got there, everybody. And if you're listening on podcasting, I'm sorry you can't see it, but this is Dust, and Dust is a sorcerer, very secretive. We don't really know exactly why Dust is doing what Dust is doing. We don't know Dust's full plan. We don't know if Dust is bluffing. And so what was this like really creating the character Dust, who's sort of the central character, is the leader of this team per lack of, you know, positioning, I guess. And what was this like really doing that? Because now we're really sort of saying what we know, we think they're the good guys at the very least. We think Dust is a good person or a good sorcerer or a good creature, but we don't know too much about it as readers in the first issue. Nor does his party know. I mean, we don't even know what his party knows either.
So Dust has a lot of layers for me. Like even before Dust's creation, my good friend Josh, he passed away a couple of years ago. He was like a brother to me, and we used to play D&D together. And he was dead set that necromancers could be good guys. So Dust is a sanguine sorcerer. That's my name for him. But he's a necromancer. He can raise the dead. On a couple of different levels, he can do this. And we used to argue because D&D says necromancers are bad. And he used to be like, nope, necromancers can be good. And out of that, Dust was born. Like out of that argument. And after he passed away, I wanted a good necromancer. Just on behalf of him, and slowly he just evolved into this. He's got so many goals, and this, he's got this kind of teasing. What is the word I'm looking for? Spontaneous personality. You know, he's not all dark and brooding like you would imagine. You know, and creating him was just a lot of fun. I hope I can do him justice. I think I do him justice.
And it's also very interesting because obviously he's worried about betrayal. He's worrying about who's listening in. And it goes to the idea that, well, I think Dust recognizes that this plan has to happen and we have to take out, you know, this demon in a lot of ways, but I can't tell everybody what's going on. And you're also keeping the reader in the dark a little bit, and it creates a very interesting story in a lot of ways of what you want to know. I mean, you know.
Well, and there's more depth to him too. You know, he's got his own backstory and his own tribulations he's dealt with. When he returns home, that's going to be one of my favorite storylines. That's later to come in later episodes, but I mean, and then he's got his own goals for life. Like slaying Mastema is not his only goal in this. There's a lot more to it, and I'm hoping the readers just enjoy finding out what the hell he's up to.
And then there's some other characters as well, you know, and we're gonna hit up. This is obviously Jericho, and Jericho I think is a seasoned, you know, warrior in a lot of ways. And what was this like really building out Jericho in a lot of ways? Because this is a unique group of characters that have come together.
So Jericho's kind of my angry character who doesn't really approve of what they're doing. And he was actually there when the Godslayer was destroyed. That arm that he's got that's metal, he lost that in that battle that released Mastema on the world. And so he carries around a lot of
hatred,
bitterness, and resentment, because it came with that battle being what it was, came with a lot of grief for him. And he's a general in the army now, and he does not believe they should be where they are doing what they are doing. Like, he wants to destroy Mastema, getting the sword. He was all for that, but he did not take into account a lot of he did not know what Dust was up to.
And then another character in this party is Akara. And obviously Akara is sort of a demon, and I'm not exactly sure what Akara is.
She's actually a Nezumi. She's actually a half-breed. She's half human, half Nezumi, and she's actually been friends with Dust for a very long time. And she's a little ninja. Her father is a full-blooded Nezumi, which is like a rat person. If you think anthropomorphic rat, that's kind of what he is. And then her I don't know how much I want to get into her backstory because hers is great, but her mom took pity on her father after some stuff happened, and they wound up together. And Akara is the offspring, and she's Dust's most trusted confidant, and we just learned that even she doesn't always know what that guy is up to.
And then the final member is obviously Bella, and this is another character that's just fascinating and adds another layer to the party.
Yeah, Bella's great. Bella is madly in love with Dust. The main reason she's there is because she loves him, and he could pretty much convince her of anything. Jericho thinks that the only reason that they're there is because she loves Dust, and he could pretty much convince her of anything. But she's there to slay Mastema. I mean, his goal to go after Mastema is a driving force, but she's really there for him.
And it's really interesting because it's very much rooted in D&D, this entire story and where they're going. And obviously, in episode 1, you're even going down the episode versus issue position, which also sort of tips it off a little bit and sort of views it as installments and almost like a series. And, it's kind of like in anime, episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's very much almost like a chapter book, this as well.
And that was me hearkening back to the fact that Godslayers was originally written to be an anime.
And so it's very much in that vibe and that nature. And so it's very interesting because it's different than other comics, that are out there where it's got that more, I guess, E4, E5 vibe to it and all that stuff. And what is that like? Because it definitely, what I read is in that style. I'm not a big D&D player, so I could be completely talking out of my ass. I have no problem admitting that.
If you want to hear something crazy, man, like, I've read D&D books, but I haven't played a lot of D&D. Like, I like using them for reference for stories and stuff like that, but I've probably played in 3 D&D games because I don't game master it. And so I love the powers. I love the classes. I love the races. I love the idea of D&D, but it's just not something I've ever run myself. My brother played it a lot, and before he passed, that was his subject of choice, his subject du jour. My role-playing experiences have all been in White Wolf stuff. Like Vampire the Masquerade and Werewolf the Apocalypse and Changeling the Dreaming.
About this.
Yes. Hold on, check this out. Right within reach right now. Changeling the Dreaming. This is the game we've been playing, and I have like my own homebrewed system that I've been running for years because the character sheet on that is so small that if you gain any experience, your characters level up so fast that they're just too powerful. And so I have like a custom character sheet that's expanded our time to play, and we run year-long games. I think my last game ran 2.5 years, and that's one of the shortest games we ran.
This is so interesting, and obviously I don't want to push too much further into the story because they're really going down this entire vibe and into enemy territory, trying to deal with their enemy and figure out the Godslayer and figure out how to kill
Oh man, and they have so much left to figure out. So much left to figure out. Like they're still learning what's going on.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff coming in and out and all that stuff. And obviously, we did speak a little bit about inside baseball. And I do want to get paid today, so I'm going to play an ad.
Go for
I got
it.
no problem with doing that, everybody.
Hey man, it's your show.
We'll
Do
be
it.
back in about 35 seconds, everybody. And then we're going to talk about rewards and some more inside baseball and all sorts of fun stuff. And we're back, and obviously I got paid, so I'm thrilled. I got no problem admitting it's all about ads are all about making money and to keep this show alive. So if you'd like to support this show and you want to buy ads, just know it goes right back into the show, everybody. And that's the second ad of the night. Technically the third, but that's not the point here. We don't keep score anymore. But obviously I do want to dive a little bit into inside baseball with you because you were speaking about it at the start of the interview, but you're coming into all this stuff and it's sort of been a very interesting eye-opener for you as well into everything and even how you can improve your Kickstarter and for your second episode and your third episode and even just how to do things. So what is
Heck,
that?
I had to improve my Kickstarter for this episode because my first rendition of the Kickstarter, I wish I had sent you the pictures of it because I still have them, but they were like, clip art and Google Docs, and you could barely read it. And that was a huge learning experience for me. And like I said, I'm lucky. I have some good mentors, and they took a look at my Kickstarter and were like, here's what you need, man. Like, here's what we got to change. Here's what'll sell books. Here's what you can do just to make it easier for the people you want to support your book, And I keep saying this on interviews. I'm of the mindset that if you want to be successful, you listen to successful people. And so I listened and I went back and I revamped the hell out of that thing. And I think now it looks 100 times better than the first time I did it.
Yeah, I believe that too, to a degree. And I also believe, though, that you have to vet information as well. Where one of the things that I learned is that sometimes people tell you not to do something. And I've had plenty of experiences where people are like, you're crazy for investing in said stock. And turns out that I was more right than wrong. And so sometimes it also depends on where people have gone and also understanding what you're doing and what you're trying to do and all sorts of stuff. And it gets tricky. And so definitely I'm of the mindset where I read a lot of people who are done what I want to do and I've gone into the direction I want to do and I've adapted things, but I will say, what can I also do physically? What is actually logical? And I look at my ROIs. But that's neither here nor there. It is important, though, to listen to people and copy what people are doing because Kickstarter is not that complicated. It really isn't.
It is the first time you touch it, but
I mean, I'm the first person to say that on my Kickstarter, and I was on Tom's interview maybe 2 weeks ago, and we were speaking on one of his shows, and he was just sort of shooting randomly, and I said, look, there's a million things I would do better on my Kickstarter. Undeniably, if I ever come back and do another one or I do one for comics, a million things I would do differently. A million different rewards, a million different ideas, also networking, also gearing up, where if I do one for season 4, I'm going to start planning it in October. And because you could get approval, I think, for like 120 days to like 6 months out. And that's a big game changer because if all of a sudden you have a big runway, there you go. But it's very interesting. So I'm actually curious because what was your opinion on Kickstarter before you came in to doing your project and how has it evolved? Because that's a question that I think a lot of people who've been doing Kickstarter for a while, I don't think they can really answer that because if you've done 20 campaigns, you're almost tainted now in a lot of ways to answer that question versus if you back 10 and then you just ran your first one. it obviously has to change the 10 that you backed.
So for me, I've been backing Kickstarters for a while. Creating one was just a whole nother world for me because, like I said, I'm not really familiar with technology. Now that I've kind of learned it, it almost feels intuitive. Like it's much easier now that I kind of know what it is. But getting in there and hunting and pecking to learn it with no knowledge of what I was doing was a lot rougher. I think that if I did another Kickstarter, there are things I would do better, but some things I would just do differently, you know?
And
especially for the preparation point of it. Because really, I prepped my stuff in a week as best I could with the knowledge I had at that time and threw it up and launched it. And I really wish that I'd taken the time to not only talk to some people who were more familiar with Kickstarter before I launched, so that I could have had a better Kickstarter page right from launch, but just to familiarize myself with. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no! I was even going to throw another thing out there, and the idea of even just the promotion side and what to expect, because there's the actual campaign, and the way I view it is the engine, and I use the analogy where your Kickstarter is sort of the engine that's moving the car, but the car has to look nice.
Oh, no! I think that the Kickstarter is the paint job, and the engine is the promotion. If you're not out there revving that engine and promoting that book, it's just sitting there. And I saw that, like, at first, a lot of the people that supported me were like my close friends and loved ones. And now that I'm out there promoting it, I'm seeing some other people coming in and getting interested. And that's what I was looking for.
Fair enough. I mean, I view it slightly different, but I view it that, you gotta just get fuel into your engine in a lot of ways, and that promoting it like crazy and also convincing and also earning people's dollars, it's a complicated entity.
Oh, and a big deal. Those of you that are out there and you're looking to get on podcasts or promote or stuff like that, man, be polite. Talk to people like you're standing in front of them. Don't just throw your Kickstarter at them. I got lucky. Like I'm a super polite person to begin with, but I've gotten some kudos from people who are like, "Hey, this guy, he didn't come at me with expectations. He asked for time, asked if I could make time, and he was polite, and you don't ingratiate yourself to anyone just throwing a Kickstarter at him." And so, like, make sure that you're personable.
I mean, I'm gonna throw something out, and people might disagree. Running a podcast is not easy. It's not cheap. So if you can not necessarily do it up front, but if you can donate to somebody's podcast, or they have a product, actually buying somebody's product on their Kickstarter goes a long way. Or using their promo codes, and that's another thing too.
Even liking and sharing. Yeah, I mean, you guys are out there on the front lines sharing our stuff.
It's the idea that, I'm going to be very honest, if somebody can use my BCW supplies code, that goes a long way. And maybe you're spending an extra $3, but you're using my code. I get printing is a different beast. And if you like Mix'em, great. If you're looking for a new printer, awesome. But I get it why people use their printers when they use them. I don't expect somebody to be like, oh, well, interrupt me on the show, I'm going to change my printing. I don't expect that, but I do expect that, hey, if I got a metal card in my eBay store for $12 and you've been on my show 10 times, buy my fucking metal card.
And I know some people in the comics, like indie comics, have been dealing with drama, and they deal with some harsh stuff. I've gotten lucky. My experience has been really supportive and really positive. And I'm excited about that.
We don't know anybody who's dealt with drama.
I've kind of heard about it over there, but I haven't run into it yet. I've been really lucky on that aspect so far.
We don't know anybody who's dealt with drama. Just what's drama? Oh God, no. Clearly. But
by the way, I know you keep seeing me scooting around. I'm trying to get myself at a better angle, and I'm just on this beanbag. So,
and so all I'm saying, and I'm gonna keep saying, is that you got to support indie. And seriously, if people have like affiliate links, sponsorships, anything of that nature, use my codes, guys, because that money does come back into my project. And it is massively, massively appreciated. But I digress right there. So I do want to talk about rewards with you, because that's something that I think is super interesting. So obviously there's the digital stuff, and that's pretty basic. And if you don't want to pay for shipping, or you're in a country where shipping is hard, or you just want to dip your toe in the water and you're like, hey, I don't know if this is good, but for a little bit of money, I'm willing to take the risk. That is kind of what a digital copy is for. But then we get into sort of some of the fun stuff where,
and I appreciate those guys supporting for a digital copy too, because I just want you guys to hear my story. Like, I'm a storyteller. That's what I'm looking forward to, is people reading my story.
Mm-hmm. And look, it's complicated with digital, because I want to back projects from Canada. Getting a book from Canada is a pain in the ass. I mean, it is like $23 to ship it to the States, and it's not getting any cheaper anytime soon. So I completely get it, in which that I would rather, if I do a comic and someone's like, yeah, I like your book, but I don't want to pay the shipping. I'm like, I got a $5 digital tier, because guess what? That's an email away.
Well, and I'm one of those people, when I support, it's something I really want, so I'll pay what it takes to get it.
Well, there's a whole debate that might happen later this month, and I might invite you on for that debate, because you have a different opposition than I do. But that's not the point here. But obviously, we have this tier, which is the Akara tier, which is basically the physical book, just cover A, without necessarily any of the stretch goals. It's cheaper and it works that way. And then we get into the Jericho tier, which is the Greg Bo Watson cover, with just all the stretch goals are included. And then we get into the Bell tier, which is the Courtney Rose Dam cover. I'm going to show that in a second, which this is the Greg O. Watson cover, right?
No, that is the Mario A. Barraza variant cover. Yeah. So the artist who did my book, I asked him, hey, man, design a cover yourself. Like, no storyboard from me. I want to see your cover. And this is his cover.
I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yes.
this is his cover.
I think that's the dust tier. That's Greg Bo Watson's cover.
Yes. I mixed it up, okay? And then this is the Courtney Rose Dam.
And just to let you know, Gwenaëlle Dallegalt, I think I just butchered her name, Gwen. She colored both of those and did a gorgeous job. And both of those covers came out magnificently. They're beautiful.
And then obviously this is, obviously Mario's cover A, and you could see, obviously that's out there. And so that's something that's also $20 if you just want Mario's cover. And
so that's his variant cover. So we have his main cover, which is that's the variant cover.
Yes.
And then his main cover is the one that's them standing as a group. And you kind of get a feel for the characters in that one, I think. I love his variant cover, though. It totally reminds me of an 80s action movie poster. I love that cover because of that.
And then there's some other stuff, too, where there's almost like a complete package that has a blank cover in there. And I'm actually curious, do you have add-ons in your campaign?
Yep.
And so is the blank available as an add-on? Because I know some people love blanks.
I'm pretty sure it is. I would have to double check, but I'm pretty sure it is.
Because some people don't want to go spend $80 for a blank cover.
Yeah, well, I mean, the $80 isn't just the blank cover. That's all the covers. So that's 5 books right there. That's the main cover. That's the Greg Bo Watson cover. That's the Courtney Rose cover. That's the Mario variant and the blank cover. And, of course, the stretch goals.
And so, obviously, there's all that stuff out there. And then also you have a bunch of stretch goals out there as well. And this is interesting. So, obviously, you have this.
Those are so cute.
Got your chibis and the chibi stickers and what's going on with that. So, that's up there. And then at $6,000, you have like commentary with you just doing annotation work and sort of showing the thought process.
It's just a PDF of all of the sketch work that I gave to the artist and my notes. And I kind of want to add some pages. Right now, that's just the sketch work and my notes, like the storyboarding and what I said to my artist. Of course, with the reference, because we took references off the internet and we don't own that. And so I replaced any of the references we used with Mario's artwork that shows what we came up with from it. But I kind of want to add some stuff to the end of it, you know, because my idea was just to kind of show people what our process was to create a comic. But I want to add some stuff in there that was a surprise for me after the comic, you know, just some notes like you said, grab, show, and then, oh man, I have it in my notes.
Hook, story,
yes,
offer.
Hook, story, offer. There we go. And I have like a whole notes section of just stuff that I learned from mentors that I'd like to share with people if they're looking to create this stuff too. And so I might add a couple of pages at the end there that are just some author's notes to help people out who are getting started.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. Promotion is a whole different ballgame, and I could go on. I legitimately could teach you so much on a masterclass, and
I think the great part about that author's gallery though is that it's my drawings. You know, it's just my hilarious, weird silhouette guy doodles and smiling monsters as they're getting beaten up and stick figures.
and then the final stretch goal, or one of the final stretch goals, is also T-shirts. And
yeah,
what prompted that? Because that's a huge undertaking in a lot of ways. Where printing somebody's T-shirts and then doing T-shirts.
You kind of stalled out, man.
So what I was saying is that the final stretch goal at $7,000 is all the T-shirt stuff. And
yeah.
So what prompted that undertaking? Because that's a big stretch goal in a lot of ways.
So my wife knows someone that can help us with shirts, and so I got a pretty good deal on shirts. And then I designed a cover for some of the variant covers that I wanted to do, but my variant artists were just like, no, I do my own thing. Just send me some references. And I was like, oh, great. Like, I'd love to see what you do. And that's where Greg Bowe's cover came in. And that's where Courtney's cover came in, is they picked the characters they like and did a cover with them. And then, I still had this reference. And, when Mario was doing his variant cover, he started doing the rough line work for the cover I had designed. And I was like, no, man, like, I want something that's all you, but I still had that rough line work. And when we were done, I was like, let's just ink that thing and I'll put a shirt up there, because I think that would make an awesome Godslayers t-shirt.
Yeah, no, it's interesting that I haven't seen a shirt as a stretch goal. I've seen a lot of things as stretch goals. Like, I've seen cover gallery books as stretch goals. I've seen extra books as stretch goals. I've seen, the first 50 backers get 2 copies of a book, and maybe your first you get a copy of a book. And that reminds me, somebody owes me a bunch of books. I expect it because I interviewed him. And anybody in the know knows exactly who I'm referring to.
Well, and you're right. It is a huge undertaking, because I mean, just to meet our funding at the median book price in there, it'd take 200 backers. And so to get to that stretch goal, that's a lot of shirts. That's a lot of shirts.
It's complicated, which I didn't get the stretch goals in my campaign, but I get my stretch goals digital, and if I produce a comic, I actually like to keep things as lean as possible. And I'm not a big tchotchke guy. I'm not a big, and I also believe in developing things that also further fit into my eBay business. And so I am like Mr. Anti-Kickstarter. I'm gonna be, because I like the idea of crowdfunding, but it has to fit a certain narrative. And I think it makes sense where it's my business, where I've been spoiled. on the internet way too much on the eBay side and on product development almost, that like I want to make sure I don't burn down my whole finances, for lack of a better word.
Well, and like I said, all of my art was paid for up front. So if we hit 7,000 as a stretch goal, I can put the money toward those shirts. Not only that, but I mean, I like it so much that whether or not I hit that stretch goal, I'm going to produce a certain number of them. And when I do episode 2, I may just release a limited add-on for them. So
fair enough. I preferred to utilize no capital. I use Redbubble, and you could order my shirt right now, and I get a little commission off of it, and I am ultra thrilled about it. So you can take that route too. But I digress right there. But I do want to actually back out of your project and talk a little bit about the whole business of comics a little bit. And I'm curious your take on it, because obviously you've backed a lot of Kickstarters, and I don't know how many Kickstarters you've backed. Just curiosity.
I 20 some, I think.
So
probably not as many as most people.
35 I backed. So I'm relatively new, but I'm also very selective now. And there's a lot of reasons. Obviously, money in my world is tighter. I have other things where my money's going to, saving up to hopefully buy a house in the next year and a half. I'm obviously investing in the stock market. I'm keeping money for a rainy day. Things are not exactly pleasant in the U.S. with inflation. And so I'm very selective, and a project really has to say, hey, I really like it, because there's a lot of stuff like Comixology is $6.37 if I want to just read comics in general. And so, and also when you're interviewing a lot of people have to send you free books digitally to read. So that also helps. So I'm curious where you view Kickstarter going, because the platform's great. And I think the platform's growing, but also things have shifted financially, and even the way Kickstarter was intended for use has shifted and evolved. And comics is always an evolving form in a lot of ways. And I'm curious, being that you're a new creator and you're not, for lack of a word, jaded or in the machine too far.
To be fair, I never really thought about anything like that.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah,
I'm
not a. I don't want to say I'm not a big thinker like that, because that just makes. But my business mind is more focused on just trying to succeed in my moment than in the future.
I'll ask you another question then on that. And so obviously we've seen, rising tides with Kickstarter, and then we've seen lower tides with Kickstarter. And I'm curious where you even view the idea of obviously big names coming into Kickstarter, becoming more mainstream. There's like a $25 million campaign going on Kickstarter.
I mean, I backed the Avatar: The Last Airbender role-playing game, and those guys were not expecting it, but they made $11 million off of that. I think that Kickstarter's there for people to fund their stuff. If people want to fund it, it's that's supply and demand, man. As far as I'm concerned. Oh, sorry.
Clearly, the comic community spoke, and you're not thrilled.
Oh man! All right, Andrew aside.
I have a list.
Is there
an Excel sheet?
Language.
And I will definitely get myself a Chris Jericho clipboard, and I will definitely get a pen now so you made the list, and we will go from there. But I digress right there.
I think Kickstarter should be used for what it is, and who the person doing it shouldn't matter. Like, I don't care if you have $1 billion and you're doing Kickstarter, or if you have $3 and you're doing Kickstarter. That's what it's there for. And the more successful you are, the more it's just a proof that the product you're selling is something people want. And I apologize, I don't mean anything, but.
It's all good. It's all good. No.
But I mean, this is where people come with dreams, and that's the American way. If you come there with a dream and you make $25 million, I mean,
my whole thing with Kickstarter is that there are three things that are going on. So I use Kickstarter in two ways, where I wanted to kickstart my season 3 of my podcast. I wanted to reduce my costs, and I wanted, a little bit of financial gain because it helped made it work. I also was a pre-order form. It was an order form. It was a way for me to actually cipher out bad guests. Because if somebody's dropping me $20-$25 to be on my show, chances are they believe in it, or they're like, hey, I want to support you, or you have something that's beneficial. And, in a lot of ways, money does cipher out bad guests. When you pay to sit at a restaurant, you're not necessarily paying just for the food. You're paying for the space to be there. You're paying to be waited on. You're paying for somebody to clean the table actually, so you don't have to clean it. And that's the whole point of a restaurant, right? And so, one of the things that I think is, and then also people use it as a business model, like you're kickstarting your project where it's covering some of the costs, and it's a half pre-order, half kickstart play. You're not having the book, and you're not at the stage where you already have seed money to go. And then that's, part of your business model is to utilize Kickstarter almost as a pre-order form and almost as a PO order for a publishing house, which is what some people are doing now, which is what that $25 million campaign is in its height. And nothing against Brandon. I think good on him, right? But we got to call it what it is. That is a PO order for a publishing house, that Kickstarter. And anybody who says that it's not doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about. And good on him. He figured out a freaking way how to do it. And good on him. I mean, it'd be such an interesting interview to talk about that, but that's what it is. It's a PO order. But that's why I'm curious, because I'm obviously jaded in all this. And I was curious where you're at, because you're a lot less jaded than I am.
I'm just starting out. So for me, that's the dream. That's the dream right there, is that one day you get on there and people are so excited to see your stuff that you fund like William Quinton did, where like Sam did, where it funds the same day you post it. Or I think Max did the same thing. For me, that's the dream. And so I can't, like I said, I can't ever look at anybody successful and think anything but way to go, man. Like, good on you, because otherwise I don't deserve success. I just can't do that. It's not in my heart, I guess. I don't know how to word it best.
Yeah, no. I feel you. I'm slightly different, but I'm gonna hold my tongue.
Well, you keep saying you're jaded, so maybe that's it. I'm just not jaded yet.
Yeah, no. I mean, my experience is slightly different than everybody else's, where I am definitely still licking wounds.
Well, and I try to come into everyone I come into to meet with or talk to. I want to make every one of those a positive experience too. I don't ever want anyone to walk away from me and be like, "Damn, I wish I'd never met that guy."
It's not so the people who I'm licking my wounds from, and I'm very honest about it. They didn't back my campaign. So my goal is to make everybody who I interview and who supported my campaign and even supports the show post-campaign, to make them happy and make them feel like they gained something from the experience. And so as an individual, that's my objective. My problem is that I'm still licking wounds. And so maybe it's going to take a while, because what I dealt with in January was very much a violation. And
I'm not going to lie. Like, I know there are venomous people out there. There are some people out there who it's just their goal to hurt others. For those people, like,
it's complicated though, because when somebody brings a fight to your doorstep, and it's like, what do you do?
I close the door, man. I close the door. Like that's how I handle things. Like, I'm just that type of person where I don't want that venom in my life. I don't want to feel that in my life, and I don't want to carry it with me. So for me, I just have to close that door and let it go.
Close the door. I'm just saying that when it comes right to your doorstep, it's not a very pleasant feeling, because you're like, what the fuck? I thought this was supposed to be fun.
Like, well, not only that, but
it changes the way you function. And
again, you asked support from a community that you've been supporting, and the hurtful people came out of the woodwork.
changes the way you view things for a while at the very least. But obviously, there's a lot of good people still left in comics. But also, comics it's a weird business. In reality, it's a very weird business because you have all sorts of people from all sorts of walks of life, and it's just an odd business. And also, when you're dealing with creators, I hate to say this, but sometimes writers and artists are not the most socially adept people either. And I mean, you've been to a con, right? And you ever notice an artist is an asshole to everybody? And it's not that he doesn't care.
So the con I went to and had a bad experience at, I've been to 2 cons in my life. I went to Wizard World Con in Reno twice. Okay. The 2 people I met were, so I met Dolph Lundgren and I met Kevin Sorbo, and neither of them seemed interested at all. It was like shake your hand, walk away kind of thing. And I was like, oh, these are people that not Dolph Lundgren, Lou Ferrigno. I apologize. That's my bad. And both of them were like, shake your hand and walk away. And I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. And then Barry Bostwick, the second time I went to Comic-Con, was there. They were doing, I think, the 30th anniversary of Rocky Horror Picture Show stuff. And my wife is a huge fan of Rocky Horror Picture Show. And I'm like, come on, let's go meet him. And she was way too nervous. And finally, I'm like, I'm just going to go get you a signed copy of the Blu-ray. And when I got up there, he was all excited and talking to me and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I can't believe my wife's too nervous. And he's like, you go get her. You go get her. And he signed her Blu-ray. It says, damn it, Brenda, I love you. And he's like, I'm here for you guys. Like, you guys are the reason I can do this.
It's very complicated where that's just sometimes how it goes, where some people just, they feel like they don't want to be there. It's the same thing with some guests. Like, if I had guests who you could tell they just don't want to be on my show. It's like the weirdest thing in the world. I'm like,
why would you do it then?
Yeah, right. Like, why would you agree to do something if you didn't want to do it? Like I've done interviews at 6 in the morning. I'm like, bro, give me like 10 minutes. I just need to drink my Monster. It's 6 in the morning where you're at. No worries. You could take 20. And then I'm drinking my Monster. I'm like, I'm getting awake. Give me again. But I'm excited. It's a weird industry. But you and me could talk after all about this before we burn through everybody's name and make you and me both get canceled. But I do want to give you a chance to self-promote yourself, because obviously you got a lot of stuff going on. Obviously, Godslayers is out there. So where can people find Godslayers? Where can people actually back the campaign? Where can people share out the campaign, go see the campaign? Where can people bother you? Where can other podcasters check you out and book you on their shows and all that fun stuff?
You can find me on Twitter at Gage_the Wolf. And you can find me on Facebook at Gage the Wolf. And you can find Godslayers on Kickstarter right now. It's under Godslayers Episode 1. And I'm posting about it all the time. So, and feel free to hit me up. I like questions and I love talking about my stories. So, and I'm a lot less nervous if I'm writing to you than I am if I'm on camera. So.
Oh man, I'm the complete opposite, but that's not the point. I am always nervous when I'm shooting out an email because I don't know what's going to happen next. But that's just me. If we're on camera, we're just doing an interview. I'm like, oh, cool, let's do it. But for me, and I'm going to keep saying it, you have to support indie comics, and what that means is you actually have to back Kickstarters. So if somebody's got a Kickstarter going on, you got to back it. Whether you get a digital copy, you get a physical copy, you get whatever package they're offering. It goes a long, long way. And so that's what you got to do. And let's say that money's tight or it's not a cup of tea. You could still share it out on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. You can make a YouTube video about it. And that also helps as well. Or just tell somebody or send it to somebody, because if something is not your cup of tea, but you know somebody who it is, then maybe they'll back it and maybe they'll check it out. And you never know. And that goes a long way in a lot of people's books. And people remember that. Or, obviously, if a creator has another project on their website, maybe you want to buy that instead, and that helps to indirectly support the current project. So that's something to keep in mind as well. What were you saying?
You were saying earlier what I support on Kickstarter, and I support, if I believe in a person, I'll support their work. But a lot of times, if it catches my eye, I really love the artwork, or I love the way it's set up, then I'll back something. And I just missed a project, Prison Witch, that I wish I'd have caught in time, because the artwork in it was gorgeous.
Man. Did you know who Pat Chan is?
I don't.
Pat Chan is a legendary Zenescope writer.
Oh, okay.
Pat Chan's been doing this game for a long time.
The art in it was gorgeous, and I didn't see it in time to actually catch it.
Oh man, you don't watch my show enough. That's the problem.
That's not true. That's not fair, Andrew. Yeah. I'm just getting started in this stuff. I've been watching a lot more shows.
About me, because I am a shill for myself, and I love to pump myself. One of the things is that obviously, I'm in D2, so I appreciate anybody who supports my podcast and supports what I'm doing here, supports the live stream. It's coming into podcast format. Same name, Conversations in Pop Culture. So soon enough, the first season of this show, if you missed the first season, it's going to be on iTunes, which is going to be super cool, and Spotify and everywhere else where you listen to your podcasts. But seriously, use my promo codes. Obviously, if you need printing, Mixum is a great printer. If you need comic supplies, BCW supplies, 10% off Pop Anime Comics. Buy my t-shirt. Check out my eBay store, Pop Anime Comics Collectibles. I got a lot of cool merch. I just ordered metal cards, and I am actually not showing the 50 metal card, limited 50 that is out there, but it's my artistic digital work of me playing around in some cool software. So it's a really cool metal card, and it's only 50 of them out there, so it's going to be a cool one to have. And then also this bad boy of DJ is going to be up there as well. And if you're in Philly, and hopefully I'm going to get them in soon, you could actually get it from him as well, and he might sign it for you. And he's becoming a big cosplay star, everybody. So check that out when I have them in. I'll be linking that up here. And also I just like money. Buy me a coffee. So if you want to give me money, you give me money there too. Again, I take donations because it does go a long way. And while I do have sponsors, running a show is not cheap. So I appreciate that as well. If you would like to advertise on this show, there's a way to do that through Buy Me a Coffee, or you could DM me on Twitter, Facebook, email me at andrewedavis@hotmail.com. Yes, I have a Hotmail address. It is the greatest email address on the planet. Or you could find me elsewhere, Pop Anime Comics, Facebook, it's all good. If you're interested in that. And so that's kind of everything about me. And just give me money, guys. I'm broke and I'm working my ass off. So
I think that's one of the first things I said to you too when we started exchanging information was, hey, you're the only other guy I know that still has a Hotmail.
Hey, it works. I mean, Outlook is not bad, and it works. I have 80,000 emails.
I've had mine since 1995. The same one. 1995, man.
It's a business email. It's Andrew E. Davis. I'm not going to go change it and then start new and you're like, here's my Google address, guys. It's because it doesn't sound as good. So, but I digress. So anyway, I'm going to give you the final word.
My name's Nathan Johns. I'm the creator of Godslayers. Check it out on Kickstarter.
Yeah, I couldn't have said that any better because my name is not Nathan Johns. So on that note, that's a wrap, everybody.